it's still now the third biggest net contributor to the budget, so money will have to be found to pay for the structural funds and the farm subsidies and so on. It will be less internationalist because Britain is one of those countries, former imperial power, that has a global view like the French. It will be less militarily strong. Along with France, it's one of the two biggest militaries and most efficient militaries in Europe. It will be less free trading. Britain has consistently supported free trade agreements. Some people may welcome that, but the balance between the northern free traders and the southern countries that are more in favour of protection will change if Britain goes. And I think also that it will be more inward-looking as a community. But will it be more united? I very much doubt it, because there's a big risk that other countries and movements within other countries will say, well, we want to renegotiate too, or we want a referendum as well.
The Pandora's box is open already, no matter what the result is. Marine Le Pen, leader of the Front National, has said that if they win the election in France next year, she will organize a referendum on EU. What do you think?
She's trying to do the same as Cameron did, and he was very, not responsible at all doing that.
You don't support that?
No, of course not. Of course not, because, she first wanted to leave the euro, now it's a referendum in Europe. She's trying to, bring any question which she thinks is, can be, fits well in the actuality. But, what Cameron did, I think it's really amazing, and it's really nasty. And how can you... Well, of course, I hope British will stay in Europe, but how can you be credible when you campaign for the remaining in Europe after years of explaining that it's Europe the cause of all evils? And I think the evil is done already. And, I hope also that, this crisis will make Europe stronger, but this is a real challenge we are facing now.
What's the atmosphere in Estonia? Because in a lot of East European countries, let's say Austria, Central European, Austria, Hungary, Slovakia, there are strong feelings and criticism against the EU. What's the temperature in Estonia? No. And how does this possible exit?
In Estonia are low because I think there's no doubt that dominant majorities for the EU as well as NATO. Sure. And we're facing an existential dilemma. So there's no serious argument about leaving. But I would say I would not over-dramatize this moment or chance of leaving, because I was a member of the Convention on the Future of Europe about 14 years ago. And for the first time, it was provided as which belongs to any democratic organization. You are not bound to stay. You have also the right to leave if you wish so. So the question is whether it's the right moment, whether referendum is the right tool, because there are too much emotions there and too little argument. But still, I think this is a organic part of a democratic organization. I very much hope that the majority of the Brits will follow their pragmatic instinct. We need UK because they have provided a good example how to concentrate on basics. That is the common market. Which is not completed yet. Yeah. And without Brits, I don't have much hopes that it will be completed at all.
Well, what do you think about this? If Scotland, Northern Ireland and Wales overvote England in order to stay, is that the end of the empire?
Well,
whatever is left of it, that would be sort of ironic.
As the British passport holder in this discussion, let's deal with one act of political fiction at a time. First of all, Scotland had a vote 2 years ago and voted to stay. And even if Britain were to vote as a whole to leave the EU, and it's possible, of course, that the majority of English people could vote to leave and the majority of Scots could vote to stay, and that would cause tension. But the fundamental problems for Scotland would actually remain the same. What will they use for a currency? How will they manage their economy if there's a hard border between Scotland and England? Will business stay or will it move south of the border? The oil price when they last voted was over $100 a barrel. Now it's around 50. Oil is their main resource. So how will they manage on their own? And of course, the other question is, will the EU want them? There was an assumption at the last referendum, it would be very difficult for Scotland just to seamlessly join the EU because countries like Spain don't want to set a precedent for Catalonia. No. I think that same question, that same thing would apply if there was another Scottish referendum. In Ireland, it would be very difficult because if Britain votes to leave, there will be a hard external border of the EU.
The only land border they have.
On the border between the Irish Republic and Northern Ireland. And the whole peace process was predicated on an open border, and the European Union, whatever other reproach there may be about it, contributed a lot, also financially, towards the peace process. So that will be put into reverse, and whether the peace process will survive it, I think a lot of people are at least worried about in Ireland today.
I want to ask you about...
I was going to say that I think that the case for Scotland is actually is there for another referendum, irrespective of the result. Because if there is a Brexit vote next week, it will be not because of the Scots. I mean, the Scots don't necessarily know whether they want to be in the United Kingdom, but they certainly want to be part of the EU. Exactly. So they will have a strong case for a new referendum. Right. But even if it is a Remain actually vote, it might be because of the Scots. And then they will be making the same point again. So I think the choice for a referendum is disastrous for the case of Scotland.
Referendum as a whole, is that a tool that we should embrace or just try to get rid of it? I mean, look at Holland, they just voted on issue that shouldn't be voted in a referendum, how EU deals with Ukraine.
Right. Well, it depends on the context and on the way you try to use it. It can be used as a tool for manipulation, sometimes by Europhobic parties. But I think it can be a powerful tool if you are able to bring a project and to bring people to support your project. But it takes a longer time, it's more difficult. Right. And of course, that's why now we're in a context of crisis, migrant crisis, Brexit crisis, economic crisis. So it's more easier to manipulate people to vote against.
Right.
As you kindly said in your introduction, I'm a 20th century man. I believe in representative democracy. Yes. We elect our lawmakers. They make the laws. Right. If we don't agree with them after 4 or 5 years, we kick the rascals out. I'm against referendums in general. I think that referendums rarely answer the question that is asked, and I think also that they are, in a way, a perversion of democracy. But I fear you can't put the toothpaste back in the tube.
That was my point also. I think democracy should work through their elected representatives, and referendums are sort of exception.
So, no referendums. Let's hope for the best. I assume we all agree that they stay in. Kiitokset katsojat. Viikko ja muutamia tunteja.